going on, everybody? Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Viall Files. I'm your host, Nick, and I am joined by Allie and Amanda, and we have a very special guest with us today, the wonderfully funny Amanda Hirsch, also known as Not Skinny But Not Fat, Instagram and podcast. Did I get that all right?
You did, Nick.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Good to have you. We have a great episode for you before we get into all things Bachelor Nation and hometowns. Be sure to keep listening after this episode for a fantastic interview with the one and only Charlie Jordan, a fascinating woman of really interesting background, talking about growing up in a Mormon family and then becoming a world famous DJ
sensation
and swimsuit model, and just a woman of many talents and skills, and very fascinating person. Really enjoyed my conversation with Charlie. So keep listening, unless you're listening to this like Tuesday night. All you go-getters out there,
then hold on.
Hold on and wake up, and then come back to us and press play. Anything else that we need to cover before we get into? Do you want to
start with some tea?
Sure.
Some Bachelor Nation tea, everybody?
It was a big hit last week. Allie wanted to talk about the mess that is Bachelor Nation.
Yeah. Well, last week...
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, we talked about Hannah Brown's God Bless This Mess, the 12 Days of Messy. I feel like both of those have updates. Tyler Cameron has like kind of mentioned a little bit about what she said about him in the book.
What did she say about him in the book?
She said, I have a screenshot of what she said in the actual book.
She said a lot, Nick.
Yeah.
Did you read the book?
No, don't exaggerate. But it was kind of all. I mean, she spilled the tea. I feel like there are a lot of Bachelor Nation books, but Hannah Brown brought it with some deets.
So, like, do we like that, or is it just like?
I think she's giving people what they want, and she's going to sell books.
Yeah. Okay.
I agree. No, but she told E.T. ahead of the book that Tyler Cameron's last poetic words to me were, well, if you rock with me, you rock with me. If you don't, you don't. I wish I was making that up. That's what she said. It
definitely sounds like something Tyler would say.
And then Tyler was like, I've got receipts too. He told that on the Bella's podcast. He was like, I have receipts too. But then he was like, I wish her nothing but the best. She has to sell books. So like she has to tease stuff.
He said that.
He was very like pro her business move. So he kind of took the high road.
I feel like you could tell though by his face, not that he's a man of like many words, but you could tell that he was kind of, I don't think he liked that, because what she said in the book, I'm just going to add on because I read the whole thing. I mean, that whole excerpt about him is that Hannah was, a lot of people kind of made fun of it because she said, she thought she was like breaking the news to us that he broke her heart. And I think people in America kind of figured that when like we saw him with her, and then a day later we saw him with Gigi Hadid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So people figured like, oh shit. Remember those paparazzi pictures outside her apartment?
Yeah, that like seemed incredibly staged.
But she says in the book, this was after like they spent a night, they didn't have sex, they were just like together and cuddling and like, being together. But she paints a picture that he was kind of a dick. So I feel like he probably is pissed, because she said that they reconnected when she went to him to quarantine. We know the quarantine crew, right?
Mm-hmm.
She said that there were days where he didn't even talk to her there, that he kind of looked at her like she was just like his annoying little sister. And then basically ghosted her for Gigi. Well, I mean, if you're going to get ghosted,
Gigi
might as well be Gigi Hadid.
Wait, but hold on. Go. I talked to Cameron I talked to Tyler Cameron after the late night rendezvous, and I know he thought he was set up for a photo op. I do know that, because he was just like, how did someone know I was there?
Right.
I feel like her early relationship with her current boyfriend, there was a lot of photos at the beginning too. I feel like she might not be opposed to photos.
She's got a hard-working team.
Yeah.
But you can always tell if you're in photos that you like you look good, because paparazzi photos, if you're not like in on it, you're like in mid bite, or you have like a really weird face, or it's typically not a very flattering photo unless you're like rolling up to Craig's all dressed up, already knowing like paparazzi just sit outside of Craig's. So like if you're going to dinner there, you know they're going to be there, so there's a little bit of prep. But if you're like on the streets of LA and some paparazzi like finds you and you're just looking like you're walking with your partner and you look cute, chances are like
you knew they were there.
You knew. But also, like, didn't he hang out with Gigi like right after that as well? That was before Quarantine Crew. It wasn't like he ghosted her after that.
No, because he and Gigi dated, and then very shortly into their relationship, I believe her grandmother passed away. Grandmother or grandfather, but I think it was grandmother. And then there was
Oma. He went to the funeral. It was a big deal.
It was over in Italy, right? It was like in Europe.
It was in Europe.
Yeah.
It was,
or maybe not Italy, but
Europe.
Somewhere in Europe. And he flew with them. There was more paparazzi photos of him like dressed in black with the whole family. And so then I think people like maybe interpreted their relationship as more serious than it actually was, because he was like attending Oma's funeral.
Yeah, it was a big deal.
How do you misread when you go to grandma's funeral at all? I'm pretty sure you can safely assume.
What a lovely
but it's
shoulder
so
to cry on.
hard to say, I'm not going to go to your grandmother's funeral. I don't think we're at that point in our relationship.
No, but like he got the invite, so like maybe Gigi changed her mind, obviously, but like maybe it was just a way to get Zayn back. I don't know. But
I mean, listen, that Gigi, Zayn, Tyler, Cameron timeline is pretty.
Well, because then Gigi got pregnant and people were like, is it Zayn's? Is it Tyler's? Yeah.
But I always got the impression with the Hannah and Tyler thing that Tyler always in the back of his mind knew that being associated, he was riding the Hannah Brown wave. Tyler he had this kind of lightning in bottle by being the supportive like guy on the show in a sea of what's that turned out to be like problematic men that Hannah Brown was dating on the show. And he was always there to be like, I just love strong women, Hannah Brown, or whatever.
An accent now.
Queen Hannah Brown.
And he kind of has a little like slow.
He has a twang.
Yeah. And then obviously with the Jed stuff, I think he just kind of knew that like, listen, they knew they were getting clicks anytime they would post, and I think I just got the impression that, Tyler knew that. And I got the impression that Hannah probably would have dated Tyler if Tyler was down, but Tyler was just...
Well, she asked him out. She didn't really leave him a choice, too. She asked him out like
after the final rose. Yeah.
Right.
I'm literally sitting on the couch.
Literally sitting on the couch. So I feel like he kind of like owed it to like America, too. To like, okay, but you wanted to marry this girl. Like now you're not going to go on a date with her. Like you have to go out on a date with her. So, I mean, listen, everyone falls for Tyler Cameron. What can I say?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, but it sounds it's like teetering on maybe getting a little tension between the two.
I feel like he won't stoop to that level though. Like I feel like based on how he presented it of like, she has to sell books. I support her. Like I feel like he's keeping it very...
Yeah, he's smart like that.
Even keel.
I mean, don't you think the way she painted Pilot Pete was worse than Tyler? I mean, she said she blasted Pete in the book. She said, well, basically, I don't feel like everyone knows that he was living with his parents, but she painted a very like just him living with Sweetnum's picture, which isn't, the hottest thing to portray, and that the sex wasn't good. So she's taking away the 3 times in the windmill by saying this time that we had sex.
Yeah.
But I thought they didn't hook up.
No, they did. The night that the
engagement party night. Yeah.
Yeah, she wrote that in the book.
She said it wasn't good.
I thought like they slept together but didn't hook up. I could be wrong.
Wait, what does that mean, Nick? What is slept to... Oh.
And like in the same bed.
No, because she said it wasn't good. She was like, we like expected it to be as good as it was, and it wasn't.
Yeah, and it wasn't good. And she said that...
So maybe there's like awkward tension.
When Barb's next door, it's really hard. You don't want to be too loud.
Yeah, of course. I would imagine like sex, after not being able to really touch anyone for 8 weeks, and then you go into this like windmill versus like going to mom's house. Is it like that? that might turn out to be different types.
Well, there might
of
be more
sex.
pressure too. Like, yeah, it's just more real.
You know, with Pete, Pete's a fascinating guy. I've never met someone who, and I know him a little bit, but who's like so just unapologetically like, I'm Peter Pan. Like, I'm going to live with mom. Fuck it. I don't care how this looks. I'm happy. I fly planes. I have occasional sex. Whatevs. Like,
Whatever.
The little
he
things.
doesn't like he just goes around so unbothered by it all, and I wouldn't make some of his choices, but it's like, all right, he's like
took
whatever.
us so long to figure out he's like a playa. I feel like he's like a playa on the DL. You know, the way that Tyler Cameron like looks like a playa but wasn't for a minute, and we were like, wow. With Pilot Pete, it's like comes on, he's this pilot, he looks so serious, but then he's dated like 5 of the women from his season. Hannah comes out with the book. Apparently he was with her. He was actually talking to Maddie at the same time. It was 2 minutes after he broke up with Hannah Ann, and then he got with Kelly.
I feel like Peter's one of those guys who just like, he just doesn't say no to sex.
No.
You know, like if you're like, hey, do you want to have sex? He's like, okay. Like, I just, you know, like, which.
Yeah, I feel like he has a scuba instructor's approach to sex.
And I
He's
feel like
sure.
he's just
While
charming
you're in
enough,
town?
like at the bars, and he's a charming guy.
Because I bet every girl thinks they're like, I'll take a chance on this guy, this underdog. But if
Yeah.
everybody thinks like that, it's like he's
And
not
he's
an
always
underdog.
like, sure.
Yeah.
I think that's my read on Pete. I don't know. Anything else?
Should we talk about Miss Katie Thurston?
Yeah. She's dating John now.
Okay, well, good. My job's over. Thank you.
Is it like there's?
I had notes. I had screenshots.
Oh, what else? I just know that she, like right after last week they announced that they were dating.
Yes. So last time we talked, she was doing day 11 of 12 Days of Messy. And remember, she hadn't given the guys like assignment to the song. She wrapped up the 12 Days of Messy. Song was Begin Again. It was a video montage of John, everything from like them hanging out now, him flying a plane, them meeting for the first time on The Bachelor. Great. John posted on Instagram and TikTok. They're doing piggyback rides. They're kissing. How lovely. But then Blake decided to share his perspective with the world. He went on the Talking It Out with Ryan and Mike podcast, and he said that Katie emotionally cheated. He wishes that she would have he wished that he would have gotten a heads up from her because now that this came out so suddenly after they broke off their engagement, he's rethinking the time that they spent as an engaged couple because they spent time with John as an engaged couple. And then you realize that
Like he was cuckolded.
like this video that she posted of John flying this plane as her like begin again, whatever montage, she's sitting behind him. She's not sitting in like the co-pilot
She's
spot
with Blake.
because she's with Blake in the back seat. Like Blake was in the plane that she's now using as like their love story, which is just ridiculous. And that Blake just said he did not like her 12 Days of Messy and he was trying to avoid it, but everyone kept like tagging him and stuff. And then John released this basically novel on this subreddit thing saying like, we didn't cheat on
He
anyone.
wrote
like,
on Reddit.
yeah. John, like
isn't that a weird place to make a
long-
statement?
That is an
like a
incredibly
statement.
It's like a
weird-
self-published statement.
to go to Reddit.
Yeah.
I mean,
Go to Reddit.
Well, it's holiday season. You're going to be getting together with family. And for all the people looking to be the star at their family get-together, I highly recommend Rum Haven. Perfect for mixing to create cocktails or for enjoying on its own. It's made with real coconut water and no artificial flavors. First of all, it's delicious. Second of all, you can, go around and telling everyone they're drinking real coconut water. And no artificial flavors. It's just all natural, delicious flavors. I enjoy it on the rocks. It's delicious on its own. But some people, they like a good cocktail, and there's a variety of delicious cocktails that you can make, some of which are the Cocajito, which is a tart lime mint club soda, the Haven on Earth, or if you like it spicy, Haven in Hell, spicy jalapeno, chili peppers, pineapples, and lime. It's getting cold out there, but it doesn't have to be cold at your party, you know what I'm saying? And the thing about Rum Haven, it has a tropical vibe to it. It feels like paradise every time you sip on it. If you live in the Midwest or the East Coast, and when winter is dragging on, crack open a bottle of Rum Haven and get your paradise on. Anyway, highly recommend it. Discover more recipes that will help you sip into paradise at rumhaven.com. The problem with having a low checking account balance is that if you go over your limit, you're like hit with fees. Bam, $33 overdraft fee or 20, whatever the overdraft fees are these days. And boy, That can sure make a bad situation worse. Overdraft fees have gotten way out of hand. I think we can all agree about that. I mean, they've always been out of hand. I don't think we've ever thought of overdraft fees of not being ridiculous. In 2019, traditional banks took $11 billion in overdraft fees. That seems like a lot of money. But Chime does it differently. Chime is an award-winning app and debit card that saves its members more than $10 billion in overdraft fees with Spot Me fee-free overdrafts. Whew, Spot Me. Eligible members can overdraft up to $200 on debit card purchases and cash withdrawals with absolutely no fees. Whew, wow. So that can really come in handy during Christmas season. Now you deserve to have financial peace of mind. That's right. Join the millions of America's already loving Chime. Sign up. It takes only 2 minutes and doesn't affect your credit score. Go get started today at chime.com/VIALL. That is chime.com/VIALL. Banking services provided and debit card issued the Bancorp, Stride Bank, N.A. member FDIC. Spot Me eligibility requirements apply. Overdraft only applies to debit card purchases and cash withdrawals. Limits start at $20 and may be increased to up to $200 by Chime. Chime member overdraft saves based on eligibility members' use of Spot Me versus $33 average overdraft fee. Overdraft fee database on bank rate checking account survey and CRL June 2020 overdraft fees report.
My feeling from this couple is like, she fucking eats him alive. Like you could just tell who's like, quote unquote, wearing the pants. Like that.
And what's Katie's aunt's name?
Aunt Lindsay.
Yes.
Aunt Lindsay.
I don't want to say anything about the aunt.
Why?
Because she scares me. But
Amanda's like, don't come for me, Aunt Lindsay.
The brand on John is that he seems to like fit the playbook of the type of guy Aunt Lindsay would
want for her.
Right?
I mean, I don't know. I trust my instincts a lot, and I don't not like Katie or something, but something is like sitting a little weird for me with this whole thing. And then I'm like,
she 100% emotionally cheated, right?
But did you see he commented, well, like you were saying, they're both, I guess, very active because this page put up his Reddit post and somebody wrote as a comment like, well, emotional cheating is cheating.
Yes.
And he responded to that comment.
Who did?
John himself. Oh, okay. John himself. And he said, I 100% agree. Emotional cheating is cheating.
But denied that he emotionally.
I don't know. That's what he said.
He denied that in his statement. He was kind of like, we were friends. And then once we were single, it just happened so fast because it was so easy to fall from friendship into more romantic.
No, feelings don't work that way. There's one of two ways to look at this. Either you 100% emotionally cheated, or you're emotionally immature to the point that as adults, that's what a 15-year-old would say. It's like, I didn't realize I had feelings in the moment when we were sitting there. And then one day I woke up and I was like, I love you. That's a 15-year-old kind of emotional response to a situation, but not adults. You recognize in real time that you're feeling something and then you're hanging out and you're just like, should we go on a picnic as platonic friends? This whole idea. So either Katie and John are emotionally immature individuals who
lack emotional logic.
Yeah. Who couldn't decipher how they were acting in real time and just decided to be like, oh, it's not platonic. We're in love. That's what this is. Or you fucking cheated. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's one of two things.
I mean, Blake's mom
has been liking comments.
Yeah. And I mean, she seems like an awesome gal. I liked her. I feel like she has a good vibe.
She's fighting back.
I mean, I feel bad for Blake, on a personal level, but isn't this best case for Blake in terms of...
Oh, PR?
Because now people are on his side.
Very hard to get the sympathy vote as a male in Bachelor Nation breakups, right?
He's been on multiple times.
Yeah. But when...
right. He can't go on again. That's for fucking sure.
But when Katie...
Or can he? I mean, Nick,
he said he doesn't want to. He says he doesn't want to.
I think he's...
What about Paradise? And not this year, but the next.
He hasn't done Paradise. No, he'll be on Paradise. Yeah,
he'll be on Paradise.
He'll be on Paradise.
I feel like not this one, but the next year.
No, he'll be on...
You think this year?
Why not? Fuck it.
If John and Katie break up, can we see John and Blake go to Paradise and fight over the same girl again?
Yeah, I don't know.
Drama.
I don't know. But... yeah, Katie
100%.
Katie cheated. So we all agree. Katie cheated on John. Because also his letter. What are you going to do? Confirm that you cheated? What is that? Why write a statement to deny? that you cheated.
The statement was just so,
It was so long,
weird.
too.
So long
It was
and
like a
saying
book.
nothing. So long and saying nothing. So long and saying, no, we were friends. It's so long and saying what you were saying. But I mean, whatever. You're right. For Blake, it's best case scenario.
Do you think there's more ambiguity with emotional cheating? Because with cheating in a physical sense, I think there's, even though some people might draw the line in different places, it's always pretty clear when that line is crossed.
You can argue semantics all day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, if there's physical cheating, you could be like, did you kiss? Did you touch? Did you do this? Did you sleep next to him? Like, there's a yes or no to answer the question.
She spoke about this on a podcast, which is chilling, because she went on Whitney Cummings' podcast and she actually brought up, like, when her and Blake were still together, I think Whitney asked her, like, is Blake a jealous guy? And she was like, no, I hang out with my friend John all the time. And Blake doesn't care. He's like, whatever, live your life. And I just found that so funny because she literally said that on a podcast. I mean, but then again, just to give her the benefit of the doubt, we don't know anything about how Blake was in this relationship, you know, what he was giving her, you know, whatever.
That wouldn't excuse any type of cheating.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, Nick is
it
big.
wouldn't
Like,
She could have just, broken up with him if he was.
She could have broken up with him. Yeah.
You know.
She could have broken up with him.
But that's the thing, she flaunted it too. Like, while the season was airing, I couldn't imagine being the Bachelor, engaged to Vanessa, and like multiple times a week posting about, I don't know, some girl I sent home week 2. Like I don't. You know what I'm saying? Like, and
also, isn't it
and hanging out and going on just spending time together, like happy hour with my bestie, like
having her third wheel your couple time also.
Like,
no, it's very weird because first of all, why debut this relationship so dramatically? Like, isn't that also hurtful? Like, why are you doing this big boom in everyone's face when obviously there's someone hurt? And also, if you go back and look at John's birthday reel, which is when Blake and Katie were still together, it's literally like a Katie montage. Like, you could see how in love with her he was. Like, the whole thing is Katie. So
listen, I think you come off the show, Katie, like nowadays they're pumping out all these shows. It's you become irrelevant very quickly, and it's a bit of a rat race of trying to come up with ideas and stay relevant, and you can easily make poor decisions. And we all think Katie thought this would be some funny reveal, and we in Bachelor Nation would I don't think Katie really thought this through, or if she did, but I don't know if she necessarily makes wise.
Well, I think she was in a pickle. Like, how was she going to get out of this? How was she going to do this in a way that was it
could have been a little more subtle than a countdown.
She could have just shut the fuck up for 6 months and dated privately.
Yeah, I think they're Gigi and Zayn, and they thought they would be paparazzi at everywhere they go, and they just wanted to go out to a normal dinner,
I think there was,
ambushed by,
I think
fans and the paparazzi.
I think there was some hubris there in terms of overestimating your perceived value in the marketplace.
Yeah.
And because, yes, they could have for 6-8 months, low key, been single, in private. They couldn't wait 2 fucking weeks.
I mean, mega celebrities are having babies quietly. They're getting pregnant. They're pregnant for an entire 9 months, and they're having a baby, and then the baby's 1, and they're had a baby. Yeah. So, yeah.
And they sold this
take a leaf out of Kylie Jenner's
So it's not
book.
like you can't go out in public together as friends, right? All you have to do is just not hold hands in public.
I think they wanted to start being an influencer couple, maybe. And they're a Kaylin and Dean. I feel like he's kind of a Dean vibe.
That's
he's
jumping out of Kaylin and Dean.
Well, maybe wanting to go in those dual influencer type footsteps. He's jumping out of planes and surfing and being adventurous.
Well, we wish him nothing but the best.
Yes, we do. We do.
And we also wish Blake a speedy recovery for his heart.
There's still amazing deals to be had, especially with our friends at Tommy John. Tommy John specializes in wonderfully comfortable underwear, loungewear, and pajamas. When you start your day wearing Tommy John, you're that much more comfortable, so you can do everything better. Shop their sale right now and give the gift of comfort to everyone on your list, including yourself, with Tommy John men's and women's loungewear. With over 60 million pairs sold, giving the gift of Tommy John underwear and loungewear has become a holiday tradition for families across the country. 97% of women and men love getting a gift from Tommy John. Tommy John's doesn't just have customers, they have fanatics. That's right. And you can be a fanatic too. Fanatic of being comfortable and cozy with Tommy John's. That's right. It's all backed by Tommy John's best pair you'll ever wear, or it's free guarantee. Did you hear that? I'm going to read that again. Backed by Tommy John's best pair you'll ever wear, or it's free. Every single one of Tommy John's 16 million pairs of underwear sold are covered by a no wedgie guarantee. Get 20% off site-wide plus free shipping at TommyJohn.com/VIALL. Get 20% off plus free shipping for a limited time only at TommyJohn.com/VIALL. Order now so your gifts arrive before the holidays. TommyJohn.com/VIALL. See site for details. Well, it's holiday season, and you're going to be getting together with a lot of friends and family for parties, and always make sure you have a refreshing drink on hand. And usually back in the day, it was always like some sugary drink or a soda. Not super healthy, but it was tasty. But what if you could have tasty and healthy in the palm of your hand to refresh yourself and your friends? Well, you can with Huzzah! Huzzah, the delicious probiotic that has 3 grams of sugar or less in all of its drinks, and it has added probiotics for that gut health. And your gut health, it's like your second brain. Good gut means good health, good for your immune system. The best part about Huzzah, it's delicious. It tastes great. My favorite flavor, raspberry lemon. They also have strawberry hibiscus, juicy pear. And like I said, it's 3 grams of sugar or less in all of their delicious flavors. Experience great tasting flavors that are perfect to enjoy this fall and this holiday season. Also, just give your friends the gift of a good gut. Get ready to fill your fridge by stocking up on Huzzah Probiotic Seltzer by using code VIALL for 20% off your order at drinkhuzzah.com. That's code VIALL for 20% off at drinkhuzzah.com. Let's get into hometowns, all right?
Let's do it.
Covered it all. You liked this episode, Amanda?
I did. I've been a little bored. I've been a little easy on the fast forwarding button this season, which is smart, by the way. This podcast isn't affiliated directly with ABC,
no, you can say whatever you want.
If you fast forward group dates, you don't need to see them playing basketball with wigs and shit like that, just it'll be a much easier watch. I like watching. So I get excited when it's, very relationship based, and not the guy's drama, hating on the guy.
You're not into the guy drama.
I hate the guy drama.
Really?
They're just so predictable and so
It's kind of fun. But
the guy Christian, it's not going to, she's not interested in any way, complaining about Nayte, who's obviously going to be a end game guy. No, I really like this episode. I enjoyed it. I even laughed. We got emotional. There were some good moments.
I think watching it, this was the first time being spoiler free that I was nervous watching the rose ceremony because I think Joe wins. I think Nate's top 2. But at the same time, I was fuck, Joe might go home. Truly nothing would have surprised me.
I thought there was a potential Nayte would go home.
Really, anything. I don't remember.
I knew. I'm sorry, but I really did know Rodney was going to go home.
That was my guess, and I think that was most people's guess. But can you honestly say that had Rodney not go home, that would be mind-blowing? This is the first Final Four in a while that, I certainly had my picks. I certainly had my predictions, but, nothing would have surprised me. Most of the Final Fours, you're there's just no fucking way. All right, you had a good run. I can't believe you made it this far. But what the fuck? I mean, shit. Look at Justin. We all love Justin, facial expressions. That guy made it all the way to the top 2. And every week we're how? How are you here? Yeah. I mean, think about Michelle's top 4 of Rodney, Brandon, Nayte, and Joe. You see why she likes all these guys. You see the relationships.
like, think of Katie's top 4. Do you believe any of those relationships looking back now? Like,
No.
thinking about, like, yeah, it was a top 4 because of the show, but like compared to like the relationships, and I don't know what that says about the show or Michelle or the candidates or the connections, but I do think it's fascinating that this top 4, like, I would, if Michelle picked any of them, I'd be like, okay, yeah, I can see it. I can see why.
That's a good point.
And that was, I think, really enjoyable because I felt an actual, like, I was a little nervous. Like, during I've never been as animated watching it with Natalie, being like, fuck, who's she going to pick? And then when she, like, picked Joe, I was like, yeah, because, like, he's my guy that I think she's going to end up with. But, like, I wasn't certain.
Do you feel like
How beautiful is Joe? I'm sorry. How
Joe's
beautiful.
gorgeous?
beautiful.
That was really notable this episode.
Yes.
Yeah, those prom photos.
Natalie and I said that multiple times.
Yes, and he's so photogenic.
Yeah.
Like, he's so gorgeous.
Yeah.
You saw
Every
him
time they
in
took a
photo.
shot, I was like, oh, taken away.
Every shot. But I just want to say something that I really focused on in this episode, and Alex, let's come back to what you were saying, is the kisses. I love just looking at, like, the smooches, even though they zoom in enough, like, for you to not have to pay attention as closely as I do. But, like, something was up with Joe and Michelle's kiss where, like, I don't know, there wasn't enough passion in the lip action for me. It was very closed, but maybe he talked with his mouth kind of closed, so maybe he doesn't open his mouth while kissing, is what I'm thinking. But I really thought deep into this. She has a lot of passion with Brandon in the kissing department.
I mean, Brandon Brandon is passion.
He is so I love him. I think he's so cute.
I also think he particularly looked really, like, physically, like, I thought it was his best episode. Like, he definitely dolled up a little bit more. He had an outfit that worked for him. I thought, I was like, Brandon looked the hottest that he's ever looked.
Wait, are you talking about his skater boy outfit?
Sure, whatever. But even, like, the way I was just like, it was a bit of a glow up for Brandon. You know, I don't know, maybe he got some extra sleep or something, but he really shined.
And I loved his family too. His family was super sweet. And you're right, like, when Michelle was saying, like, usually when bachelorettes or bachelors say those kind of, like, corny lines of, like, I could see her families hanging out, and you're like, yeah. But when Michelle said it, like, I felt what she was saying. When she was like, I could see our families hanging out, like, you could really feel that. Like, I was like, oh my God, I could see our families hanging out.
You know, it's one of those things, and Natalie and I had this kind of discussion last night. When it comes to hometowns, because it's hometowns, like, every season they'll make a big deal about, like, I could see myself hanging out with his family. But, like, in the grand scheme of, like, life and dating, it's a nice to have, but you're never making your decision based off of, like, your ability to hang. Like, at the end of the day, she's going to pick who she likes the most, even if it's her least favorite family, right? Like,
what if the family is, like, freaky? Like, what if the family,
I mean, there's a level
really
of, like,
vibe?
Holy shit.
What if the family is Aunt Lindsay? Wait, what was her?
Yeah, Aunt Lindsay.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
But that's an aunt. Like, if I met a girl with a nutty aunt and she was like, if the girl, like, afterwards, she's like, I don't know, it's my fucking aunt, you know? Then I'd be like, yeah, okay. If she was like, that's my best friend.
Like, right, exactly. It's worrisome if the person's like, that's, you know, the person that helps me make all my decisions. But I think that the opposite, though, of what you're saying is, like, if a family is, like, such a good vibe. I mean, there's a Sex and the City episode about it. There are a lot of, like, you know, romantic comedy, you know, movies that when you fall in love with the family. So there is something in the opposite sense of, like, you can kind of fall in love with the family and have that make you like the person more.
There's like that New Girl episode where, like, Jess just wants to go on dates with the parents. Like, she's like, does my boyfriend have to come, or can I just go with his family?
No, I think it's a total, like, it's a great bonus. Like, if the family's great, you definitely appreciate it because, like, the family hangs are that much more fun. It's not a drag. I'm just saying, at the end of the day, it's not really influencing your decision, short of it being, like, a crazy ass family where once you meet that family, it shines, like, a light on the person you've been dating where, like, you couldn't place, like, what it is about this person that was kind of, like, bugging you, but you like so much about them. And then all of a sudden you meet their family, you're like, oh, like, I see where this is going to go with you. Like, short of that, I just don't think the family plays that big of a decision. You disagree?
Yeah.
Well,
End of argument.
I think, and I'm sure this is like a very personal issue. I just think it's very relevant the way someone treats their family, especially if you are looking to create a family with someone. And that's not to say that people can't.
how you treat your family and how like the family chemistry are two different things. Like
but I feel like that comes out when you meet the family.
Yeah, but if you like met a family and like your partner was like, oh, that's my brother, and like you saw a closeness, but they were like into a bunch of shit, you're just like, these are just not my people. But there was a genuine love for that family. Yeah, and if the guy, it's like what you're describing is like being rude to waiters. It's like you walk in and like they're just like a dick to their family. Like, yeah, that's a red flag.
Sometimes though, if someone I'm seeing like calls their mother every single day at a regimented time, it's something I'll notice. Like, not saying it's disqualifying, but stuff like that can make a real influence.
Yeah.
And that's nothing against their mom. That's nothing against them. It's wonderful for them that they have such a close relationship. But I think there is an element of being like,
See, I think we're agreeing.
But can I plug in? Like, can I plug into this situation? And I think if I didn't feel comfortable and I didn't have faith that I could become comfortable.
I agree with you.
Okay.
But like how your partner interacts with their family. And again, if there's like specific red flags, like talking, like got to call mom at 9 a.m. like every morning, like it'd be like weird. But your ability to have fun with the family and have them be your people, I just don't think is all that big. Like, I don't think Michelle's ability to hang with Brandon's family over Joe's family, which there's a clear difference.
Yeah.
You know, like Joe's sister-in-law was like keeping it together. She's like, hey, these are like, they're very nice people. They don't talk a lot.
They don't talk.
Like, have we ever had a sister-in-law be like, I'll do the
carrying
ITMs.
it on her fucking back.
Literally, the sister-in-law was running that hometown.
And it seemed like very nice people. Like Joe's family seems totally pleasant and fine.
But it did make me understand like why Joe is the way he is, you know? Because if we could have like doubted Joe and been like, okay, you know, he's too hot to be like this quiet and this reserved, like this is some kind of playa thing. But then you're like, no, his brother like was frozen. Like the brother was just like, yeah. Like you could tell how nervous he was. And he's like this giant, also good looking guy and also just wasn't able to speak. And then his dad was like, okay, so what do you want to talk about? I mean, that made me laugh, I think.
And even Joe sitting there, Joe was like, well, Dad, I know you've got some questions. Pause. Dad goes, nope.
That was a pretty awesome
Another pause. Like, I was
moment,
like, this is comedic. Like, this is just silence.
And that's totally fine. And Joe's family seems sweet and quiet.
Oh, yeah.
And whatever. And I guess that's my overall point is that if Michelle decides she has the best connection with Joe,
well, she has Hannah. She has her sister-in-law.
Like,
she's going to bond.
At the end of the day, she's not going to be like, but Brandon's family is fun.
Right.
Like, it's just not going to be a part of her decision.
I just noticed that Michelle really vibed with the dads. Do you guys notice that?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like with the mom, she was having kind of a harder time to be like, it was more kind of awkward. And with the dad, she was like, yes, you want to play ball? And like, are you going to, I feel like she had a really good vibe, even with the quiet dad, even with Joe's dad. I feel like she managed to get kind of like a vibe going.
Do you think that's normal though? Like in most cases, because, you know, moms
maybe
with their sons,
moms of boys are hard.
Moms of boys can be very like weirdly protective.
100%.
And like, you're just like, and I'm asking a group of women because I don't know. And I have a close relationship with my mom. Like, is it intimidating to date a guy who is seemingly has a healthy, close relationship with their mom that you don't want to say anything to like fuck up?
I feel like you need to watch the first time that they do something nice for you in front of their mom and like look to the mom and see how she reacts to it.
Interesting.
Like when my ex would like open a car door for me and like not for his mom, like I like would look to her and see like, because you can always tell if they're clocking it as like a, he hasn't done that for me, or like, she makes him open car doors for her.
Or as opposed to like, oh, I trained my son well, I'm glad he did this nice thing for the girl.
Yeah, you have to like figure out.
Interesting. That would make sense.
I feel like maybe there's just more of a level of even like moms don't want to, I'm not a mom, but like there might be a more of a level of like, either competition or being replaced as like the main woman in his life, as opposed to a
Sure,
dad
yeah.
that's a completely different relationship. So like
Right.
you can sit down and have a very like, I mean, I pride myself on being like more of like a tomboy person with dads, especially like talk about outdoor stuff, talk about that kind of stuff. And then it's like with a mom, it's like, no, I just like, I'm not trying to step on anyone's toes. Like this is a completely different dynamic.
Do you think there was even a conversation with Michelle and Joe's dad, or do they think they just like said fuck it? No, I'm sure there was a conversation. There's definitely a conversation. It just probably didn't. It wasn't very fruitful, is my guess. It's like, oh, you know, if you like, you seem like it's nice, and if, whatever Joe wants.
I think it's so funny. I mean, Nick, you went through this, but it's always so funny to me. Like, even to see Brandon's brother, who was such a vibe, and he like,
such a vibe.
you know, I was like, is he a DJ? I don't know. He had this like very cool, and him being like, Michelle, want to talk? It's like such a moment where you just know how like, you know, he was told to do that. And it's like, then the questions that they ask her is like, so why do you like him? And I can't even like, it's such a
loaded question. I hate
such
that
a
question.
loaded, and she even, and she's very good at like, she was like, you know, he's playful. Like she didn't really even know what to say, you know? It's like, oh, how is he different from the other guys you're, you know, hooking up with? And it's like, he's really into me. Like what?
I've never had to question how Brandon feels about me. That was like,
you're not.
and then she was like, there's something different with Brandon than with the other ones.
It's like,
I wouldn't even know where to begin.
Hometowns sucks.
Yeah.
For the lead, it sucks. It was the hardest week for sure. And I don't know, for me, it was the hardest week because I kind of knew what I was doing. And I just felt personally disrespectful to like go into these people's homes and pretend to have an interest in their daughter more than I was leading on.
Right.
But like, it just felt, I really personally struggled with that. And I was incredibly careful with my words because I didn't want to say more than I had to get by. But Michelle, I think I don't know if she's already made her decision in her head. And she seems to have like a sincere interest in all these people. So I wonder.
I mean,
how
I
it was
think
for
with
her.
Rodney, you just felt like it was a little less, you know? So I did feel bad.
And her mom was all over that. She knew.
I mean, her
moms know, I think, stuff like that. You're like, you're not
his
picking my
mom-
son.
his mom was a little like too nice, on the verge of like my, you know, in your, you know what I mean? It just had those kinds of vibes for me. Like, don't hurt my son.
She had some mama line energy. for
Anyone who
sure.
like describes their son as like more of their best friend than their son,
yeah,
I'm like,
that's
that's always like that's going to be hard to be the
thing
girlfriend.
is, like, I have a son. I know it's really shocking because I look so young.
You do.
Everyone be shocked.
Oh,
Okay. Thank you. So it's so hard to like imagine, like you want that, right? Like technically, like would I want him to be obsessed with me? Yes. Would I want to be the girl whose boyfriend is obsessed with their mom? No. So like, what's the line? I mean, I like playing the whole thing out. Like if you're a mom of a boy, you obviously want your kid to love you and call you and be obsessed with you and maybe be your best friend, but you don't want to date that guy who's obsessed with his mom, is best friends with his mom, you know, and whatever. So, I mean, there's a fine line. There's a fine line of like it being cool and it being like too much.
yeah. And I got the impression from Rodney that I would bet it's on the cool side. It seemed like Rodney.
Like maybe she wanted it to be more, but he was like, "Ma, yo."
Yeah,
Like-
right. Like Rodney seems like a real stand-up guy, a really impressive showing all the way through. Especially when someone who shows up like with the apple. Like if Rodney went home week one, he'd be like, oh, a guy showed up dressed as an apple who like couldn't like get a Granny Smith. Like people, I think, wrote him off, and like every week it's just more and more impressive. So I thought he had a really stand-up showing, and I think if you had a really weird relationship with your mom, I just don't know if you're capable of accomplishing what Rodney accomplished in this like crazy atmosphere. Like I would also argue that I bet like Skippy also probably has a very unique relationship with his mom. I don't know
In a very different way.
In a very different way. And it panned out, you know, I don't know. I think there is a unique, I don't know what his relationship with his mom is, but I bet it's unique.
Skippy?
I don't know if it's good or it's bad. I think, but it's specific would be my guess. I don't know. No thoughts?
Oh, you're looking at me? You can't tell with these cameras. I don't know who Chris Skippy is.
Oh, Chris S. Oh, you know what? You fast forwarded through it, probably.
Wait, is it? He was on this season?
Yeah, the short guy.
Christian.
No,
Christian.
Is it Christian?
Yes. Right?
They called him Chris.
Are you thinking about Christian from Katie's season, Boston Man?
No, the short guy from
We're talking about the same guy, but we just call him Chris S.
Oh,
well, actually,
okay.
we call him Skippy, but
I mean, Christian just I don't know, feels like it works better for him. Yeah, I think it's hard to know what his relationship with his mom is. I mean, you know this, Nick. It's like those guys that come on, they know they're not getting the girl, so they probably create other drama so they can be on the show a little. That's how it felt to me.
yeah, but in the weirdest possible way. Like, I just don't understand. Like, you can become a villain by doing nothing in the show. If the show wants to like play music, fine. But like he was choosing these choices
Right.
for himself, and I couldn't comprehend why airtime was worth it. I don't.
That's my question. That's my disappointment and my choice to fast forward is like, respect me. Respect my time. You know? Don't waste my time on Chris S. You know what I mean? Like, he's not, him and Michelle don't vibe. He's not going to like be here. So I don't want to see it. I want to see the relationships. I want to see the kisses. I want to see those things.
What did we think of Brennan skateboarding? I wanted him to be really good at it.
I felt bad because I was like...
That was another lull moment.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know how much of a pro skateboarder you are in real life, but I will say, like, doing it in front of cameras and doing it in front of a person like you really like, that's got to be hard, but it's not a good show.
You could tell he definitely skated and was, like, decent and probably hasn't done it in a while, and he was really hoping it was like riding a bike. And
wait, did that remind you of Matt James? Like, it brought me right back to Matt James, because didn't he do that on his season? He was like, watch me skate, and then he like failed.
Did he? I don't know.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, but I really wanted him to be good at it. Like, I wanted him to crush.
Yeah.
He had the outfit on. He had the like skater Venice Beach outfit on. She even put on Vans too, which is cute. They were both like matching Vans.
I really didn't know what he had in store though, because that nasty little like a garage stall that he opened to like show this whole skate park. I was like, where are you guys?
That easily could be like a thing. Like,
oh, it's got to be somewhere in Minnesota.
It looks super cool.
Yeah.
And he, I think he's so sweet. Something about him is like very childish. Like, you almost feel like he's like a little boy. Maybe his face is boyish, but I believe him. I fully believe him.
I think that's why I wanted him to be good at skateboarding, because I wanted him to be good at something other than just loving hard, you know? Like,
yeah.
Because he's got that down, like rock solid.
I mean, he's a recruiting traveling nurse. I mean, he's good at that.
Yeah.
You know who else is? Oh, no, he's an actual travel nurse. Noah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Noah
we were
is a
told there's a
traveler.
distinction between...
A recruiting. I mean, he's recruiting people like Noah.
Yeah. He recruits the Noahs of the world, but...
Yeah.
Seems like...
Yeah.
But listen, in terms of what you were talking about families, I think that with Joe, though, wouldn't it cross your mind being like, we're both from Minnesota? Like, that's so much easier. Here you're literally taking away a whole issue of like, you know, Nayte is all like, Austin this, Austin that, like assuming his life is going to be in Austin. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it definitely is a very convenient... If you're going into this hoping you meet someone, hoping you fall for someone, and then hoping it works out after this shit all ends, like, that is a huge advantage to like, Vanessa was really like, we decided that she was going to move out to LA right away. And as soon as the show ended, she did. But that's a big ask for someone who's like close with her family. Like, if everything else was perfect and it wasn't, that would still be a huge weight to just like move your life for someone who's ultimately a stranger. Like, when Vanessa moved to LA, we had never spent more than 3 days together, like locked in a house. You know, like,
Was there any panic, or was there any moments of like, what the?
Well, there's panic the whole relationship,
shit
but
the bed.
it's a very stressful thing to have the pressure of Bachelor Nation, and you definitely sincerely like have feelings. You felt these real emotions in this world, and then like you're out, and there's just a lot of shit that comes. So yes, to Amanda's point, it's a huge advantage. I don't think I will say though. You realize how much is it's advantage after the fact. Again, I don't think it wouldn't change. It wouldn't impact my decision. And short of there being like a tie, and there's never really a tie, but it is a huge bonus. Yeah.
And even the sister-in-law said, she was like, I hope this works out because we're going to run into each other at the grocery store.
It sounds like they don't, they're not just like from the same area. They're like in the
neighbors,
same hood, like they're from the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Then did anyone else like love the fact that Nayte's family called him Nathaniel?
Yes. Thought that was so cute.
It's a really endearing thing. And it's like, that's what they called him. And what did I hear it right? That like Nayte's stepdad and his mom are divorced, and they divorced recently, but still showed up for this hometown.
That's lovely.
But he said he really, really loves his dad. So like, why didn't his real dad come?
I mean, who knows? There could be a million reasons why it didn't work out.
Also with COVID,
we're still in a COVID world,
True.
So traveling, his dad easily could be just a private person, like who's like doesn't watch the show, and his son's like, "Hey, I'm doing this for you on a TV show," and he's like, "I don't want anything to do with that." And I totally respect any parents being like, "Listen, I support you, do your thing, but like, I don't want to be on TV," And I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all.
Yeah.
So who knows why he's not there? But I do think it was just a kind of a sweet thing to have like a stepdad, and despite him getting divorced to your mom, like still shows up wanting to support, your stepson.
No, that was a really emotional moment, almost to the verge of like a breakthrough. Like if a therapist would probably be like, no, that was a breakthrough.
It was,
like,
It 100% felt like a breakthrough. It made me feel like, and again, like the show is what it is. We talk about it all the time. The producers produce, and they definitely will push you to like make decisions that not always in the best interest for yourself, but decisions you would want to make if you had no like inhibitions or like the good ain't, like they're always the devil on your shoulder being like, this would be fun. Like it's the buy the boat when you really can't afford the boat or have no business owning the boat, but it's the producers are the friends who are always being like, wakeboard. We can wakeboard, and despite that, like they aren't all evil people. And like this world, if you are willing to like tap in and embrace this kind of emotional kind of hot box, you really can have like these moments, especially for people who just have never gone there, who haven't opened up. And so you're sitting there focused on your feelings 24/7. And for someone like Nayte in this situation, I really watched it thinking, I really hope this moment is something that he will have for the rest of his life. And he will take this opening up and carry whatever happens, whether he ends up with Michelle or not, that he will have this feeling of like fruitfulness and like being honest about his feelings felt in that moment, and want to keep doing that for himself in future relationships. And like, it brought him closer to like his stepdad to tell another man that you love them. I don't think is always easy for a lot of men in this world. And I think it's a really kind of, I thought it was a really kind of special, like it was the best part of the episode for sure. Like it was almost like, who gives a shit who Michelle ends up with right now? Like, what a beautiful moment for Nayte.
Yeah. And even him sharing it with Michelle after would like added to how, special that was, and how he actually probably opened up and how it stayed with him. He was like, whoa, like this just happened. That's so crazy. But I think we got a sneak peek also that like, I mean, if I was Michelle, I was like, oh wow, he's not, that open with his family. Like he said like he's never shared anything about girls before, which is like,
extreme.
Do you think that,
right?
Yeah. And like Nayte opening up to Michelle at the end, he's saying like, yeah, I just told, my stepdad, I love him for the first time. Like, look what happens. Like, one night with you and all of this like happens. Like, how great. So I'm like, in one way that could be so like, Michelle's like, wow, this is great. He's making progress. But it could also be like, wow, we have so far to go. So I'm like, is it good or bad that this is the first time this has ever happened?
As far as Michelle and Nayte go, I personally think extremely bad. In fact, I actually think it's a non-negotiable. It should be a non-negotiable for Michelle. Like, I still don't know who's going to end. I think she's going to pick Joe. You see the chemistry with Nayte. I think Nayte will be the number 2. And if Michelle is the person she has shown us to be, which is this incredibly self-aware and thoughtful person who has had her own personal heartbreak, has made her own mistakes, but now has like the benefit of perspective and hindsight where she's like, I've fallen for this trap in the past, but like I am now the mature, successful woman who like I can say no to myself. Like she's not Carrie Bradshaw who like never learns from her bullshit, right? If that is who she is, like while this world can tap into those emotions, you do not want to get engaged to the guy who for the first time in his life, in his late 20s, like finally decided to like fall in love for the first time or like really go to a place emotionally, because this world is meant to do this, right? It's meant to elicit these emotions and tap into them. So it's a bit, they're real, but they're manufactured, right? So Nayte is feeling love for the first real significant time in his life in a very manufactured environment that's meant to elicit these types of emotions. So while it's good to help you have a breakthrough moment to like start the process of like loving people and really opening up, it is definitely not how you want to start a relationship that you hope will last forever. Like to me,
you could tell that he's not emotionally mature enough for that. Even his family. They left and they were like, they were like, yeah, no.
And I loved it because his family his family said it in such a non-judgmental, kind way where it's just like, we love Nayte. This is like, hey, this has been his path. It's been slower for whatever reason, and it's fine. Like Nate's not that old. He's a great looking guy with a ton of swag that decided to be like, you know what? I'm not really going to get close to anyone. I'm just going to be a fuckboy and I'm not going to lead anyone on. I'm just going to I'm going to go out and have fun and hook up and I'm not going to hurt anyone. I'm not going to like lie about feelings. I'm not going to say I love you to people. I'm just going to like go be Nayte. And that sounds like that was his choice, and that's fine. But I wouldn't want to get engaged to that guy.
Yeah.
On The Bachelorette.
I think Michelle, I think in that moment, it's also like, great for you.
Bad for us. Yes. Great for you, bad for us. That was Nayte's hometown.
Yeah. But yeah, you could totally feel the energy of his family and the whole vibe. His whole vibe is very fun, very positive. Like you said, good looking, tall, like good vibes all around. But like, you're like, dude, you are not about to wife this girl up.
Well, his stepdad, I thought, asked a really good question too, because he was like, how are you feeling? How is this experience? And Nayte was like, it's just like these feelings. These feelings, they're so new.
Yeah.
And then his dad was like, well, if they're so new, how do you know it's real? Like he basically was like, if they're new, you've never felt them before. So how do you know she's the one?
It was an excellent question in an atmosphere. In a far more concise way, his stepdad made my very long-winded point where it's just like, hey, good for you for feeling for the first time, but like, I wouldn't base the rest of your life on this. Mm-hmm. And his stepdad's 100% right. Yeah. Interestingly enough, like Michelle didn't get to hear Nate's family's breakdown of Nayte, which you would think would be important information. Just be like, sweet guy, he really likes you. I've never seen him like someone like you before, but Nayte isn't as mature as you are.
Right.
Like
they even said that. They said those words. They were like, she's super mature. He's not. And it's okay, but it's definitely not. But I feel like you could tell from those little things like, this is what I do every day in Austin. This is not a guy. He's like living his best life, it sounds like. He hasn't gotten to the point of like, I need a wife and I need this, vehicle to help me find the wife. He's living his best life right now.
He said he paddleboards 4 times a week.
Literally 3 or 4 times a week.
You know,
Yeah.
that's a guy with a lot of free time on his hands. Like he goes to work, he does his job, and he's like,
He sells
Let me
some stuff and then he paddleboards.
I want to paddleboard, and he still has plenty of time going out. Nate's life is all about Nate, and that is not a criticism at all. It's just like where he is in his life, the jump from that life to be like, hey, I'm gonna go on this reality TV show and like, fuck it, let's see what happens. I guess I'll be open to falling. And then he meets someone like Michelle, is surprised and like smitten by her and taken back. And I don't think Nate's full of shit. I believe Nate's feelings for her, but it's just, it would be such a giant step for him that even Nate's parents agree that he's probably not emotionally ready for. And I think Michelle is smart enough to not like give into her ego and be like, I could change him. I will, because a lot of people, we've all done that. You meet someone like that and you're like, but no, like I know, like, but like what we have is special, and I'll be patient and I'll work with him and I'll change him and blah, 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 blah. And I think Michelle is smart enough to not do that to herself.
She's a teacher 9 to 5. She doesn't need to do that at home.
Yeah. And I think she's looking for that person. Interestingly enough, so what she has left is Brandon, who's like on the younger side.
That's what I'm saying. I feel
and then
like
she has Quiet
Brandon,
Joe.
Right. So that's why Brandon feels like the safe choice of like, okay, but I know he really, really loves me. I feel like maybe it's my ego, but if I had to make a choice, I feel like maybe because I'm also like, older, it's like I would want to make the choice where I feel like it's safe. I feel like this person really, really loves me. That's, safe.
I feel like once Michelle has an overnight date with Joe, she will bond with him. And I don't mean like once they fuck. I mean like, but it is a moment you're really waiting for. And if Joe is this guy who's like camera shy and constantly feeling out of place around cameras, and I give Joe a lot of credit because you can tell this is not easy for him, and he's really trying to like open up, and he's really trying to get comfortable around these cameras. And I like to think it's for Michelle. You know what I'm saying? It's not because like he's like, I fucking hate this. But I think once he gets behind...
Yeah, I don't think he's trying to be like, I don't think he's trying to have a podcast after this, you know?
Yeah, I just don't suspect it's going to happen.
I don't.
Although I would love that podcast.
Even by his Instagram, like it's one of those Instagrams that you would want.
Yeah.
You would want to date that guy. Like if you swiped right on that guy and you checked on his Instagram, it'd be that Instagram that you're like, oh, great. He has a photo from like a mountain one day. And he has a photo with his like
he's just guessing.
Yes.
Yeah. He's like, I don't know.
But Michelle didn't have social media before she went on the show either. So in that way, maybe they're perfect because you know that they're genuine.
I liked Michelle because of that. So I feel like that gives him extra points of like that he is there for the right reasons. I'm hoping. Yeah. And again, I think Michelle is so attracted to him. At the end of the
beautiful.
Day,
I'm
right.
We're all attracted to Joe.
we're all picturing our babies with Joe.
Like every time they took that picture, I was just like, oh.
And those photo booths are hard. Those are not like good cameras. No. And he still just like glowed.
Unreal. It was unreal that he was coming out even hotter in the photo.
And he looks like in those pictures, like he's kind of this quiet, awkward guy where he didn't realize it was being taken. So it's like not even his best face, but he's still beautiful. Yeah, he's just like, oh, well, I'm sorry. Was I supposed to smile? And he still looks gorgeous in these photos. It's wild. But anyway, I do think once Joe and Michelle are alone off camera together, it will feel like they had 20 dates of conversations, and I feel like she will really connect with him, and whatever doubts that she had about Joe will be solidified in that overnight of like, this is safe. It's easy. I mean, fuck, he's hot. Like he reminds me of my dad. And yes, he lives in Minneapolis,
That's true. She also did say, which like we know girls love that shit, especially if you have it's a good thing if you have a good dad, right? Which it seems like Michelle is a really good dad. But she said like, he reminds me of the men in my family. We know how sweet her dad looks and how she has great parents and how she loves him. So it's a very...
And as much as like Michelle says, like she wants a guy to take charge, and she like I don't know how she said it, so like I'm paraphrasing. So don't
Coach. Like, are you talking about what Jamie?
Yeah, earlier in the season, she's like, I've always been the one who's kind of like
Coaching,
running the show. And I believe that I think she will always be fine with being slightly the alpha in the relationship. You know what I'm saying? So I think someone like Joe, who is more quiet and reserved, as long as he in private can like keep up with her and she feels like he has, and like when we interviewed her, she kind of mentioned, I don't know if she talked about Joe specifically, but yeah, like he could, like when he really gets going, like a classic introvert, like just because you're an introvert doesn't mean like you're always quiet or you're always like reserved. It just takes some warming up and you have to feel comfortable. And when you feel comfortable, your kind of extroverted side can really shine and come out. And I think as long as Michelle has that from a guy, she'll be totally fine running the show and being kind of like the shining star a little bit in the relationship. As opposed to like with Brandon, it's really nice to like have a guy shower you or a girl shower with love and feel like this person loves me. And it's even better on The Bachelorette because Brandon makes Michelle's job so much easier every time they hang out. Like she can literally just be like, I'm just going to sit here and let this guy love on me.
Right.
And in that world, when she's emotionally tired, she's physically tired, like Brandon is such a like just a nice to have in Bachelor world. And I think she respects the fuck out of Brandon. And I think she thinks she's amazing. I think she recognized that she'd be lucky to have him, but like she's not, I don't think she's like there with him.
Wow, you really convinced people with your opinions, Nick, by the end of this episode. Now I'm like believing you that she picks Joe.
I could be wrong, but that's how I see it.
I will say, like, I think the hurdle with Nayte is going to be the fact that he's never been in love. He's not ready for an engagement. Like, in no way do I think he's going to be her final pick. But I noted when they were doing the like paddle boarding
She said she's nervous around him?
No, it wasn't even that. It was more so like when she got on his paddleboard and he was paddleboarding, he was like, I know what I'm doing. She was like, no, you don't. And then she was like, you have a nice body. Like the way she was talking to him was even like a different tone and a different cadence than how she talks to the other two. And it made me think like, oh, with the other two, it feels like Michelle is in control. Michelle is, as you say, like the coach. She knows what she's doing. She's very mature. And in that way, I think the reason she's kept Nayte around this long and even kept him after the family said he's not ready for an engagement is because I think it's a bit different with him. She is a bit nervous. She's not completely in control because she doesn't know exactly where he's coming from. And I think that's maybe exciting to her.
I totally agree. And she did say in that date, which I thought was interesting, I'm nervous around you. I just think when it comes to Bachelor world, you always go back to your roots when you're forced to make a decision in less than a few weeks about who you might spend the rest of your time with. It is not the time to take a flyer on like your personal choices. And I do think Nayte is the guy who does make her excited, that she is like, she feels a different way with him. It's all very exciting, but I just don't think, especially with this information, she just knows it's not the right choice for her. And like, there's a world where she would have had a lot of fun with Nayte and some great sex and a good time, but like, she can do all that with Joe and be fine.
If each of you were Michelle, who would you pick for yourself?
Joe.
Joe? What about you, Amanda?
I think I said, okay, so I think I would pick Brandon because I feel like he would give me the feeling that, you know, no matter what, like he's obsessed with me. But maybe that's an issue I need to like, you know, figure out for myself.
Well, that's your love.
I like people who really like me, you know?
Your love language is
both of you are like, yes.
Words of affirmation. No, it makes sense. I mean, like some people, I think that's totally fine. I mean, to a certain degree, but I think that's
to a certain degree. But I feel like I feel like Joe is more of a risk because like he's into her, but like, can she know for sure that he's like so into her? Can he break her heart? Yes. Brandon just seems like he's there and he's, you know, so maybe I would pick Brandon just because of that. But I do think that her and Joe make a lot of sense on a lot of different levels. But Nayte is a for sure, he's out. He's out of the race.
I think I agree.
Is there, and I don't think Michelle would necessarily make this choice, but I'm curious if you think this logic holds up. Do you think there's ever a thought with the lead of like, I'm on this TV show, like, yeah, I kind of want the person who's like flashy and 6'6" and super hot and like so goddamn charismatic. Do you think there's ever, being in that position, more of an inclination to believe the fairy tale with people or to believe someone who seems like a high risk, high reward?
I think you go back to your roots. I think at the end of the day, when you're forced to make a potential long-term decision in an unreasonable amount of short time, you go with what you go with. Like Josh Murray was Andy's type. I was not. You know, Sean was Caitlin's type. I necessarily was not. Vanessa was very much my type. You end up going, if your type is there and as long as they kind of check the boxes and don't show any like obvious red flags, and even if there are a couple, you're kind of like, but maybe they're yellow. You're going to go with what you know. You know, it's just not the time to be like, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to take a flyer. And in a perfect world, that might be the smart thing to do. It might be the right thing to do. But like, I just think when we're really pressed in a very pressured situation to make a very important decision, you're just like, fuck, I'm just going to go with what I know here. And I just don't know if it's the time to really go, let's get nuts.
Do we feel
You
like
know?
Nayte is in that way, like almost the Tyler Cameron of Hannah Brown's season? Like the hot one that you probably won't end up with, but like sure is fun to keep him on board.
I think Hannah Brown is a perfect example. I think Hannah never felt safe enough with Tyler. I felt like, I think my guess is Hannah's intuition felt like this guy's not that into me. Mm-hmm. Like whether it was true or not, she didn't totally buy it. And I honestly don't think Tyler was ever that into Hannah. And Jed like reminded her of home and she connected with him and it was like, Jed was like the 1B to her Luke Parker, who was very much like Luke Parker was the guy she imagined being with, who, like that's who she was going to pick unless he didn't like really fuck up, and Tyler was a guy who was like, this is hot and this is surreal and I can't believe, oh my God, this is great. But like, this isn't gonna, there's no way, and I felt like she picked what she knew. She picked what she was comfortable with. She picked her type, despite, everyone else being like, wait, well, you could get engaged with this model. Like, it's beautiful. Like, what are you doing? Like, what? And I think that's why Hannah did what she did and it makes a lot of sense. It's human nature to be like, oh, like Jed, like I can see myself at Jed, it works. He's hot. He plays the guitar. So fuck it,
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's a good, I never thought about it that way, but it's very true. I mean, she could have picked Pete too, but I guess Jed reminded her more of home. I mean, she didn't even have sex with Tyler. So she was really restraining herself.
I think Tyler wasn't having sex with Hannah.
Oh, you think he was the one that didn't want to do it?
I think Tyler was always down to do whatever he thought would come across as the nicest and most respectful. And I think Hannah had a lot of sexual tension and chemistry with Peter. Peter fucks, as we know. So they had sex. And I think she kind of suspected she was going to pick Jed. And she probably really wanted to. And Tyler was Tyler didn't go into that fantasy suite being like, I got to lock this down. I don't think Tyler made any moves. I'm guessing he was a very respectful kind of king in the fantasy suite because he didn't want to like if she wants to have sex with me, like I'll do it. But I think Hannah also like being very Christian and she, like her struggle with like sex and like, well, I fucked Pete and like I want to pick Jed. Like I do. I'm not the girl who's going to have sex with everybody, and so like, and I think if Tyler was like, came out of the closet doing like Tyler Cameron, I think they definitely would have hooked up. But I think Tyler was just like going to sit this one out unless Hannah was like, I want to fuck.
Tyler like made a little bed on the floor and was like, good night.
Yeah, like Tyler would have slept on the floor if that's what Hannah wanted to. Like I think Tyler like was like always playing with house money and was just like, I'm just gonna like.
Who knew he was so smart? I mean, he's fucking smart. He's fucking smart. But Pete fucks is going to stay with me. Like, Pete fucks is just so good. We know Pete fucks.
He never,
That's so good.
He never turns down sex.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's turned down some sex, but like,
We're not slut shaming.
He's down.
and that's totally fine. I like Pete. I've always, whenever time the few times he's a nice guy. I think he's got a good heart. At the end of the day, he is kind to people.
Do you think he's self-aware?
Yeah.
Because it sounds like he might be.
I don't think to the point in which he just doesn't give a fuck. Yeah. I just think in a charming way, like he is less, he's less neurotic or worried about what everyone thinks. He's just like, oh man, I have a good life. Judge all you want. Maybe I've always, like, my dad was a pilot. All I've ever wanted to do was be a pilot. Now I'm a pilot. I got to be on a reality TV show. I'm tall. I'm reasonably good looking. What do I have to complain about? And I think that's how Pete Weber approaches life. And honestly, like, how can you fault him for that?
No, true.
It's a good approach.
You know? He probably recognizes his privilege. And he's just like, fuck it. Like, I'm going to shut the fuck up and be happy.
Yeah. I like that. I like that he has like, his own thing going. We just don't know how, what he has done to these girls. Like if he, played their hearts a lot, because we know there was like some juggling going on. So if that wasn't too shady, then yes, live your life.
I don't know how that all went. I didn't follow it. My experience with Bachelor Nation people is that the men and the women are just as shady, and they're both fucking shady. It is not like Bachelor Nation is full of fuck boys and fuck girls.
Well, I feel like it's people constantly trying to like calculate what their options are and get the best one.
And there's a lot of like, yes, there is the element of the social media and hype and brand, and it just is what it is. And so I just don't think anyone's a saint. They have all made decisions, and I just don't think anyone can like get on some sort of soapbox and play the like I got screwed over card. Like, and I just fell in love, like I just don't, anyone could be like, I was just here to love. And
what about Brandon?
I was just about to say,
other than Brandon, maybe like, I don't.
And you know what? Rodney. Yeah. I mean, he seemed very real also.
Sure. And they all do. But I guess I would extend that criticism to anyone, and I don't fault them for doing it. Shit, I did it. If you're going on Paradise, if you continue your reality TV career, you aren't here just for love. You just aren't. It's, like I actually, I went to Chicago and talked with Grocery Store Joe, and and Joe's a great guy. And he even said to me, he's just like, included himself in the conversation. He's like, you just can't convince me that anyone who goes on the show doesn't have a little bit of a narcissistic trait to them. Yeah. Like there's a little, of course, like...
Or like a bit of hubris to be like, this environment notorious for manipulation, notorious for drama, that I can go in and my integrity and good qualities will shine through and I will exit not worse than.
And that's what I love about Joe, is that he is self-aware and he's not pious and righteous, and Joe doesn't believe his own bullshit. Joe doesn't believe his hype. Joe doesn't walk around with... Joe's well aware of how amazing his edit is. And
he got even a better deal than Tyler C, maybe, because he was the night one.
Yeah.
Tyler C, at least he had to do the whole thing. Joe was a night one. No more grocery store for him. Yes, podcast. You know what? Maybe the other Joe also. I mean, we didn't think this Joe would have a podcast, did we?
That's true. But Joe Grocery Store was like asked to do it by like it's the Bachelor Nation podcast, and he said yes to it. And like I think it's great. And Joe's also selling T-shirts and he's doing things. I think Joe's great, but like, and he is self-aware enough to know. And I think there's a lot of people in this world believe their bullshit. Like if they get amazing hype, they're just like, yeah, I did all that. I did all that. Like all the positive things they get from the show, that was them. All the criticism, it was the edit. It was the producers. And Joe is self-aware enough to know that he owes a lot of people some thank yous. And he brings a lot to the table because he is a great guy, but he's aware that like they showed none of his warts and all of his like great stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it is funny though. I think Jared Freed, he's a comedian, does like Bachelor stuff, was on my podcast talking about Grocery Store Joe, like screaming. I was peeing my pants. Because when he put it the way he did, because on Bachelor in Paradise, I was like, I love grocery store Joe. And he just was like, grocery store. So just like he sits there and is like, yeah, or whatever he says in his like little cute accent. And it just works. And he got the best, like he's so loved. And I mean, he didn't do that much for it, right? And if he's self-aware about that, then that's great.
No, he is. And it really makes me like, you know, I think we've covered it all. I guess like just you okay, so you're going to stick with Brandon?
I mean, you know what? Yeah, to be different.
Who goes home next?
Yeah.
Who goes home next? Nate?
I think though I could see a world in which, like you were saying, she wants to keep like the two really, you know, because Nate is so hot and he's so tall and impressive that maybe she wants to keep him. But Joe for sure finalist. And then I think it's between Nate, hot, risky. She knows she's not going to take him. And Brandon, maybe she's less feeling him, but super safe.
We'll see.
Yeah, I could see her I think the second she knows it's not Brandon, she's going to send him home out of kindness to him.
Yeah.
So I could really see it being a Joe, Nate finale, but I could also see Joe, Brandon. But
I
Joe.
think going into these fantasy suites, like Brandon will be laser focused.
Brandon will be like teeth brushed, you know.
Oh my God.
Fucking tongue brushed.
Yeah, he will be respectful, but if there is a crack to drive through, like he is going hard to the paint if the paint is open.
He's coming prepared. Yeah.
So many
He's
condoms.
coming to please.
Condoms everywhere.
Yeah. Well, Amanda, thank you so much for
Thank you
recapping
for
this
having
episode.
me.
Please let my audience know where they can consume more of your content.
Not Skinny But Not Fat is my Instagram handle and my podcast name. And thank you for having me. It was a fun episode. Fun to chat with you guys.
Well, thanks for coming on. Thanks for listening, guys. Don't forget to send in your questions at asknick@castme.com, cast with a K, with our Ask Nick episodes. Be sure to tune in and check out our episode with the wonderful and fascinating Charlie Jordan. You won't want to miss that. And if there's nothing else, we will see you. Like, I don't know now. Keep listening.
Keep listening.
Yeah, great. Bye.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. But before you go, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you don't miss any future videos, like our Mondays Ask Nick, especially if you're looking for some relationship stories and relationship advice, as well as our Wednesday interviews with your favorite celebrities and experts. See you next time.